When the people of Israel entered the land of Canaan, Joshua was their leader. He had been chosen by God, who had commanded him.
I have given you this land. Go and take possession of it.
Canaan was a fertile land, often described as flowing with milk and honey. However, it was also home to the Canaanites, who practiced evil rituals, including sacrifices and idol worship. These acts were detestable in God's eyes, and he declared that the land must be cleansed of them. This was Joshua's mission, a great and challenging task. But God gave Joshua a promise.
Just as I was with Moses, I will be with you. Be strong and courageous.
With this assurance, Joshua led the Israelites toward Jericho. When the people of Jericho heard that the Israelites were approaching, they shut their city gates and prepared for battle. They feared these people and the miracles their God had performed, yet instead of changing their ways, they chose to resist. Armed men stood guard on Jericho's massive walls, watching day and night. Nearby, Joshua gazed at the towering walls, knowing that no human force could bring them down. But he remembered one of God's promises.
No one will be able to stand against you all your life.
As Joshua sought guidance, he saw a man standing before him with a drawn sword. Joshua asked him, saying,
"Are you for us or against us?"
The man replied,
"I am the commander of the Lord's army. This is holy ground. Remove your sandals."
Joshua bowed in worship and listened carefully to God's instructions. Back at the camp, Joshua gathered his men and revealed God's battle plan. It was unlike anything they had ever heard. Obedience would test not only their loyalty to Joshua, but also their faith in God. However, Joshua assured them,
"The Lord has declared that Jericho's walls will fall, and we will enter the city."
When the Israelites approached Jericho, the alarm was sounded. Soldiers rushed to their positions, expecting an attack. But instead of war cries and weapons, they saw something puzzling. Armed men led the way. Behind them, 7 priests continuously blew their trumpets. At the center of the procession was a sacred object covered in rich blue cloth, the Ark of the Covenant, a symbol of God's presence. Silently, the Israelites marched around the city. No one spoke. The only sounds were the steady footsteps and the trumpets' endless blasts. After circling Jericho once, they returned to their camp. The people of Jericho were confused. What kind of strategy was this? The next day, the Israelites did the same thing, marching once around the city in complete silence, then leaving. This continued for 6 days. Some in Jericho remained fearful, remembering the stories of Israel's powerful God. Others mocked, laughing at the idea that marching and trumpet blowing could defeat their strong walls. On the 7th day, something changed. Instead of one lap around the city, the Israelites marched 7 times. The tension grew. Then suddenly, they stopped and turned toward the walls. A long blast from the trumpets pierced the air. Joshua shouted, saying,
"Shout, for the Lord has given you the city."
With a mighty roar, the Israelites cried out in victory. And before the people of Jericho could react, the walls collapsed, flattened in an instant. The Israelites rushed in and took the city, just as God had promised. From that day forward, as long as the Israelites remained faithful to God and followed his commands, they experienced victory throughout the promised land. This story serves as a reminder. God promises victory to those who trust him. He calls believers to be strong, courageous, and obedient. As the Bible says,
"Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." Ephesians 6:10-11.
Did you find all of the crowns in this video? Tell us how many you saw in the comments below.